Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 14 meeting of the Aylmer Town Council. Start with a moment of reflection and respect. Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of the agenda. We have a resolution.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of August 14th, 2024, with the addition of Peter Unger, Chair of the East Elgin Community Assistance Program, delegating regarding food insecurities in our community and a living wage.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Oslach and Councillor Van Raes. All those in favor, is there any comments on confirmation of the agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Point 5, delegations and public meetings. We have a public meeting under the Planning Act as a resolution to
The council do now commence a public meeting at 6:02 p.m. to receive input from the public with respect to planning evaluation report, application for zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 05-24.
the mover and seconder, Councillor Desrosiers and Councillor Chapman. Right, Manager of Planning and Development, your report. Oh, you have some reading to do before.
Yes. This public meeting is taking place under the Planning Act 1990 as amended. At this public meeting, council will hear public representations regarding planning evaluation report, application for zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 05-24 by DLT Holdings 1 Incorporated. Please note that those who do not provide comment or written submission prior to the decision of the appropriate planning authority may not be afforded the right to appeal on the Ontario Land Tribunal. Council will hear comments in the following order: presentation of the staff report by the Manager of Planning and Development, agent or applicant, the public, staff, and the clerk.
Thank you. Now we can hear from the Manager of Planning and Development.
Thank you, Your Worship. The zoning bylaw amendment application before you this evening, as mentioned, it's for 78 Spruce Street West. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject lands from residential multiple second density zone, special provision 7, to a new residential multiple second density zone, special provision 7. And this is to change the uses on the property. Currently, this property only permits the former trucking facility, a transport trucking facility that was on that property, also known as, I believe it was Walker Transport, as well as an automotive repair facility that accompanied that. So that's changing the uses on the property to what is being proposed, that being 29 one-story townhouse units with also a reduced rear yard depth from 6 meters down to 5 meters. It's important for you to be aware that a majority of the property is subject to Catfish Creek Conservation Authority's development regulation area. And the flood line comes right up along the southern lot line of this property. As a result of that, a portion of proposed units 18 to 20 will be within the development setback, which is the 6-meter erosion hazard limit for the projected 3-to-1 top of the slope. Units 18 and 19 will not have an outdoor patio in the rear of their units due to the slope. Instead, they will have large windows that will provide a secondary fire access. Property is located on the southeast corner of Spruce Street West and Elm Street. Figure 1 shows the aerial photograph of the subject lands. As you'll see in that aerial photograph, it shows buildings on the property. The property is currently vacant. Figure 2 shows the proposal of the townhouse development. It's important for you to be aware that on this property, there is a municipal water service, half-inch in diameter, which provides water to the town's sewage pumping station adjacent to the lands to the south, and a municipal sewage force main located on these lands as well. The water service line and the sewage force main line have been physically located on the property. However, it's been discovered that the municipal water line is not within the registered easement area that we thought it was. So therefore, the water service needs to be removed and relocated to the town's municipal road allowances prior to construction, and this would be at the expense of the town. The following reports and studies have been completed with this application: a site plan drawing, servicing plan, geotechnical investigation and slope stability assessment, record of site condition, Phase 1 environmental site assessment, and Phase 1 environmental site assessment update. This has been filed with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Moving on to planning policy analysis, in terms of the provincial policy statements, the policies that were reviewed within the provincial policy statement were housing policies, hazardous lands policies, as well as brownfield policies. And as well as I also reviewed the proposed provincial policy statement 2024, which has not been approved yet at the province. However, I do understand that approval will be coming shortly. I can indicate that this proposal for zoning bylaw amendment for this property is consistent with the province's provincial policy statement current, as well as the proposed provincial policy statement. Moving on to the county's official plan. The town of Elmer is a Tier 1 settlement area. This type of development, which is classified as medium-density residential uses, are permitted. As well as I also reviewed the county's official plan, which was adopted May 14th, 2024. And again, same policies as what was in the original plan. So therefore, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment conforms to the county's plan. Moving on to the town of Elmer official plan. As you'll see in your report, this was a pretty lengthy section because there's a lot of applicable policies from our town's official plan that apply here. The policy areas that I reviewed was the high-density residential area designation policies, the density policies, site suitability policies, and therefore I can comment that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment conforms with the town's official plan. Moving on to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, as I mentioned earlier, essentially what we're doing is basically doing a repeal and a replace of the existing RM2-7 zone that is currently on this property, just replacing it with new permitted uses. And in particular, also as well, reducing the rear yard setback. In terms of other issues or matters, should this zoning bylaw amendment be approved, the next step in the process for this development would be site plan approval. As part of site plan approval, town staff would be looking at parcel accesses, on-site parking, landscaping, fencing, on-site snow storage, exterior lighting, servicing, stormwater management. Fencing is also being proposed. It's proposed within the plan that is before you. And this is fencing along all perimeter, all boundaries of the property. In terms of consultation, the Director of Infrastructure has provided comments. And essentially, any additional comments will be worked through at the site plan stage. Canada Post has provided their comments, essentially stating that the development can be serviced with community mailboxes. Catfish Creek Conservation Authority has been heavily involved with this application file right from the beginning. They are in support of the geotechnical and slope assessment study that has been prepared. I've also been notified that they have issued a permit to the owners should the zoning bylaw amendment be approved. In terms of the county's involvement with this, because this property borders on Elm Street, we were required to apply a minimum building setback of 26 meters from the center line of the county road, Elm Street, which is County Road 53. County doesn't have any further concerns considering this proposed development meets the county road setback. In terms of financial impact, I mentioned earlier in my discussion about the municipal water service line that crosses this property is going to have to be removed and relocated. This will be completed in-house. The budget for the works will come from the waterworks operating budget. So in conclusion, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statement, and it conforms to the county's official plan as well as the town's official plan, and that the zoning bylaw amendment should be approved, subject to any concerns coming forward tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Next is the applicant or agent present, and if so, do they wish to speak? Don't see anyone. Item 5, could the clerk confirm whether or not any members of the public wish to speak? We have somebody that just came in.
That is the owners, Your Worship. Yep.
Come on in. Come on in. You're just at the point where I asked if the owner or the agent of the property wished to speak. Do you wish to speak to this?
I would like to defer maybe to my husband. He's just using the restroom. I'm sorry, we thought it started at 6:30.
Okay, we give him a few minutes. Are there any other members of the public that had indicated?
There are no other members.
Did we receive any other communications at this point?
No, no other communications have been received at this point.
Okay, welcome. So we're just at the point that the owner of the parcel wished to speak to this application. If so, you approach the podium and give your name and address.
My name is Dave Tykrob. I'm from DLT Holdings from London, Ontario. So what we're looking to do on this parcel of land is similar to another development we did at John Street South, 366 John Street South. And it's geared to seniors. So it's going to be one level with no stairs, with no basement. And so that's what we're proposing to do here, similar development. That's what we're seeking your support on today. Okay? Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Any questions while I'm up here, or?
Right, council, any comments, questions? Deputy Mayor Barber?
Thank you, Worship. It's obvious in the application that the developer and staff have worked well together to work out the kinks on this particular application. It's a applicable mix within the neighborhood and very appropriate.
Councilor Desrosiers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment that I'm pleased to note that parking facilities for this development appear to be well-designed to accommodate the anticipated volume, which is often an area of oversight by development. So I'm very pleased to see that it has a lot of parking. That's great.
Thank you. Are there any other comments by Councilor Rahi?
I have a comment and a question, I guess.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor. The comment is, I've lived down the road from this for over 30 years, and it's definitely more suitable for what you're talking about doing than the truck yard that I grew up playing in. And my question is the sanitary, the sewer that runs through there, a couple years ago, I did notice an issue with it, and it had to be repaired. What happens when it is developed? I think I noticed there's no buildings going on it, but should there be an issue with that sanitary when there is a roadway or parking spot? What happens in that scenario? How do we kind of deal with that when it happens? Not if, probably when.
We have worked with the town on that, and we've allowed an amount of setback if that happens, the force main. If there was a problem, we have built that building back far enough so the maintenance crews can get and repair it. And so I think we've taken that into consideration, which is a valid point.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, we can adjourn the public hearing and council can action on this. Can you read the recommended resolution, Owen?
That council do now close this public meeting at 6:15 PM and reconvene the meeting of council.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers, Councilor Rahi, all those in favor, is carried. Can you read the recommended resolution, Owen?
That report Plan 23-24 regarding planning evaluation report, application for zoning zoning bylaw amendments 05-24 be received, and that the council of the town of Elmer approve the proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 05-24 in accordance with bylaw 58-24.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Roselach, Councilor Chapman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? As carried. Thank you. We'll move on to delegations, 5.2. I believe the first delegation is Ace Morningstar regarding the town of Elmer's need for additional mental health supports and affordable housing. Ace Morningstar, welcome.
Hello, my name is Ace Morningstar. I am a citizen here in Elmer. I have, forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous.
Hey.
I have noticed, not just here in Elmer, but anywhere, there is a dire need for things like mental health supports, housing supports. In my opinion, nobody should ever be suffering due to homelessness. Nobody should ever be suffering due to what goes on in their head in fighting their own personal struggles, whether it be depression, whether it be bipolar disorder, whether it be any kind of mental illness. I think, forgive me, it's a very sensitive topic
take
for
your
me.
time.
I am honestly fed up with having to wait almost a year just to get into a psychiatrist and have this psychiatrist maybe not even be the right fit for me as somebody with a mental illness. Back in 2019, I was diagnosed with something called borderline personality disorder. It's a mental disorder that can be caused by things like childhood abuse. There's genetic factors to it. Basically, what happens in my brain is my amygdala takes control of my frontal lobe, which means I have issues controlling my emotions, controlling my anger. And I also have issues with things like building relationships, keeping people in my life that are good to keep in my life because my mind will think that these people hate me when they don't. I don't want to step into an ER room, an ER department in a hospital, and have them just tell me, oh, call a crisis line. I think honestly that there needs to be more professionals that actually care about the people who are struggling. It's a very sensitive topic for me.
It's okay.
I want to be seen as a human. I think what the community of Elmer needs to do is not just have more mental health supports, but educate people on how to go about a mental crisis. I have had mental breakdowns out in public, and I have had issues with places where the policies say that I could have been a threat to someone else, but in reality, people with mental illnesses are more likely to be victimized because there's that lack of understanding. I understand that not a lot of people mean to harm me, but it's that lack of understanding that can harm somebody. These policies are too generalized. They have to be a bit more specific. They have to be specific. What if somebody is saying that they want to kill themselves? What if somebody is acting, I don't mean this out of offense, irrational? What if somebody is just having a hard day? You try to understand them. You may not be able to relate entirely, but the best thing you can do is listen. I also notice that when it comes to any kind of healthcare, there's always the talk of money. What about money? Why is money considered so important? Why is it a barrier for things like mental health care, housing supports, any kind of thing. I'm on ODSP, and with the housing market, people my age, I'm 23 by the way, people my age have been outpriced from ever owning a home. Like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. What happened to the right to housing? Now it's you have the right to housing if you can afford it. What I think Elmer needs to do is, for things like public health, they need to reevaluate their training on mental health. They need to include things that may not be included. Because like I said before, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. It's a rare disorder. Statistically, just over 8,000 Canadians have it. But that doesn't mean it's not a real thing. It's a very real thing. It's a very real struggle. 10% of those with BPD end their own lives because of lack of health care, mental health supports. People think I'm a monster because they just don't understand. Sure, I can get really angry, but I'm still a human being. I deserve as much respect as anybody else. As for the housing, I have been homeless before. I've lived in a motel, wondering if I was going to find a place by the end of the time my motel stay was up. I had to beg a roommate to let me move in 4 days before the end of the month because I couldn't afford the last few days of that month in a motel. I'm on ODSP. That I only get $1,368 per month. And for what? Something I cannot control. Now I understand that there's not much the town of Elmer can do about that specifically, but what I encourage everyone here to do is speak up about it. Say that there are people struggling with mental health, struggling with finding a place. Does anybody think it's ridiculous that an apartment nowadays is almost $2,000 and people on ODSP only get almost $1,400 for things they cannot control, which are disabilities, either mental or physical? We all have to speak up. If we want a better place, if we want a better future, we have to speak up, or that's never going to happen. Again, it's a very sensitive topic for me.
It's okay. That's Ace. That was a very great presentation. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Are there
hear
any
you talking
questions?
about educating us. I think that's what you're doing, is educating us.
Yeah.
You're talking about listening, and that's what we're doing, is listening.
Yeah, I will say this. When I feel that my emotions are out of control, I literally have to focus more on calming myself down, because that is just how intense my emotions can get. I said I was diagnosed with this disorder back in 2019, but I am certainly not the same person I was all that time ago. I may have found support in my friends, but there are people who need medications. There are people who need regular appointments with a psychiatrist or therapist or counselor. For me, I express myself in my artwork. I draw. I love to express myself through writing, through songwriting, through drawing pictures of how I feel. I love to just be me nowadays. Whereas all these years ago, I was constantly worried about what people thought of me. Now I'm worried more, what do I think of them? If you have the right environment, and that includes having your own place to live, if you have the right environment, if you have the right supports in your life, you can be a better version of yourself. But at the same time, do not shame. We should never be shaming our struggles. We should never be shaming our differences. We should be embracing ourselves as human beings. Are there any questions?
Okay, well, thank you for that. Council?
It takes a lot of courage to speak as you did. Thank you for that.
Councilor Van Raes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot I could touch on with this, but we have limited time. I just want to thank you for getting up here and speaking on this, because it does take a lot of courage and shows how brave you are to get up in front of council and on camera and speak about what you've gone through.
Wait, I was on camera for this?
Everything's recorded. We're on YouTube. As
That's
someone that
fine.
works in the field, I can really appreciate what you're saying. And I think you touched on it, you hit the nail on the head. With education. Educating everybody, coming out, doing things like this and speaking is the key. We need to educate the community and our neighbors about what struggles people go through. So without getting too into it, just so you are aware, outside of here, my main focus is supporting adults and youth with intellectual disabilities, which is a lot of it is dual diagnosis, complex special needs. So I see it every day. I see the struggles within the system, and it frustrates me. And that's part of why, that was part of my reason of joining council, was to be a bigger voice. There's a lot of work that, again, yeah, Elmer can't make the change, but if we can educate people and be a voice for people, for vulnerable people, that's a step in the right direction. Housing, again, this is a conversation we could spend all night talking about. I agree with you. I was homeless once when I was a teen, so I understand the struggles, and paying $2,000 to $3,000. Like, I have a large family. The house I would need if I was paying rent would be more than a mortgage. And it's not fair, but again, it's speaking up and doing things like what you're doing, which will put us in the right direction. So again, I commend you for doing that, and thank you. And again, we all need to educate ourselves and our neighbors about what people go through every day. Thank you.
Councilor Chapman?
For you, Ace, my emotions will show. You should be very proud of yourself for coming forward this evening. And I'm glad to hear that you have found some coping mechanisms. And see, the reason I told you to breathe is because I have to do the same. Not quite to the extent that you do, but it does come that way. And for you to stand where you are and do what you have done already means that you are on your way to a better life. Through your art and your music and everything, just remember that you are a human and you do deserve to be recognized. And I hope that you can find the right person to speak to and help you on your journey. Thank you for presenting tonight.
I would also like to say something to you, that our struggles should never really be compared. There are some things that I may not see as worse, but to this person, it's the worst day of their life. That's why listening is so crucial.
Thank you.
Okay, another comment, Councilor Van Raes?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just outside of council, I want to put this out there because you're sitting here. If you ever need anything, or you need access to resources, or you just want to chat and vent or brainstorm, feel free to stop by and see me downtown.
Thank
My
you.
business is right across from the Family Central.
Thank
Come
you
by
so
anytime.
much.
Okay. Again, thank you.
I do have a question.
Question.
I do have a question. I was wondering, because I know what it's like to have, like what I said, borderline personality disorder. I was wondering if there's anyone in Elmer who I could, how do I word this? I was wondering, I want to get involved some way with bringing awareness and acceptance to mental health, and the fact that everyone, regardless of how much importance someone may have when it comes to money, I want to bring awareness to the reality of things. I want to shine a light upon that.
Okay, I think Councilor Van Raes has some suggestions there.
Let's talk after, and I can connect you to some resources and some people that can help you bring some more awareness.
All right.
I wish I had a business card on me, but Inclusive Communities Downtown, just come knock on the front door. It's always locked because we support vulnerable people, but
Yeah.
come knock on the door, ask for me, and I'll put some time aside. We can sit and chat.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me
Thank you.
speak here this.
No problem. Do you have a question or comment? Councilor Desrosiers?
Just a comment on the last question that Ace just asked. I know it's not in Elmer, but Welkin Child and Youth Mental Wellness is a really great resource that's in St. Thomas, but I'm sure if you reached out to them, they'd probably be willing to come out to speak with you as well.
Very well. Thank you very much for that presentation, Ace. That was a great presentation and certainly made an impact on council.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. It was
All right, thank you.
a great opportunity. Thank you.
All right, item 5.2, or do we need a resolution? Sorry.
That the delegation from ACE Morningstar delegating regarding the town of Elmer's need for additional mental health supports and affordable housing be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Chapman and Deputy Mayor Barber. All those in favor? Can I ask the question again? All those in favor? As carried. Thank you. Item 5.2, Pete Unger, Chair of the East Elgin Community Assistance Program regarding the food insecurities in our community and a living wage. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, and forgive me, your support staff, because I don't know what else to call you, but I know that you're all important. That's hard. Ace, that's hard. I'm proud of you for who you are and that you're willing to stand up and make those comments. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. You're on your way to something better than who you think you are right now. Yeah. So I came here this evening. Someone mentioned to me that Southwest Public Health has submitted a writing to you or some information in regards to food insecurities in Elgin County and in Elmer, St. Thomas, in those areas, and that how a living wage would help in that food insecurity. I'm the chair of the East Elgin Housing, I'm sorry, I used to be, the East Elgin Assistance Program in Elmer. And I just felt that we wanted to come and lend our support to Southwest Public Health in regards to this initiative that they have, and maybe give you a little perspective of why ECAP thinks that this is a worthy cause for us to promote and to consider. And I thought that the best way we could do this would be to give you some statistics about what happens in Elmer. And so as chair of ECAP, we are responsible in town for the corner cupboard, which most of us know of. We are also responsible for the Christmas Hamper Program, which supports approximately 350 families every Christmas. We're responsible for the Coat and Boot Program that runs out of Elmer that supports, that actually gave out 400 coats and 180 boots last year in the year 2023. The Family Central Food Program, we actually help them with their daily giving, so we give food to the Family Central so that they can continue on their program. And incidentally, with Family Central, they now average 65 meals a day coming out of their facility. We do a meal ticket program. We also do which basically means that if somebody comes for food and they're hungry right now, that we can give them a meal ticket and they can go to Elmer Sub and they can get something to eat right away. We support people with gas cards that have appointments in other areas and need money for gas to be able to get there, and sometimes taxis. We also have an emergency case program that last year, between $16,000 to $20,000 of money went to people that were just about to be expelled from their rental properties or their homes, who needed utilities paid for. They can come to us, and there's a criteria, of course. If they follow the criteria, that we would help support them in that. And I'd just like to take one of those initiatives that East Elgin Community Assistance actually is responsible for and give you some stats on that. In 2023, we averaged 142 families that we serve monthly from the corner cupboard. That's 339 total families, because not everybody comes monthly. And that actually computed to 956 individuals every year that we support through the corner cupboard. In 2024, we've averaged 162, so from 142 to 162 families. And this year, we're giving more food out every month because people are needing more than they have in the past. 2024, we registered 50 new families this year, many of them large households, more than 6 people. So the trend is that people are needing to be coming to Corner Cupboard more often. We are now actually at the point that expenses are exceeding our monthly donations. I didn't come here for money. I just wanted you to understand what's happening in Elmer. We have a surplus, and it's healthy, but I know after I've been on the board and around Corner Cupboard when Blair Behrens was around and John Mantella was around. We're talking 25 years ago. I remember when the Ford factory closed down, we thought we had a healthy budget, and in 1 year it was gone. And so I think as me being on the board, I can give some perspective in regards to there's never enough to serve our community. But our monthly donations are not exceeding our expenses that we're doing right now. Almost 70% of the people we serve are actually from Elmer. Our community has been incredibly generous to us, donors, service clubs, churches, and local businesses. But we are seeing less donations due to other organizations they donate to also, who do great work in our community as well. Family Central, MCS, Cherry Street, and there's others that I haven't mentioned, and I apologize if I haven't mentioned them. It's only because I don't know details in regards to them. FC, as I said, gave 65 meals today actually I'm a volunteer there. So today we gave 65 meals to people that were in need of that. They saw 82 new people this year for help. That would be mental and other reasons, housing reasons. And there's a waiting list of 300 people that they have for housing in the town of Elmer. We wanted you to know that someone in public health has spent a lot of time putting this document together and actually has run the numbers. And this is probably one of the first times that I've experienced someone coming out and saying, here's somewhat of a fix to the root problem. Don't just throw money at it. What's the fix to the root problem? The fix to the root problem, it appears to have a living wage promoted in our community. I think that if you read the documentation from public health, there are, I think it's less than 20 organizations or 20 companies in our community that actually promote a living wage. And so they give a living wage. And so I think it would be important for us all to consider and council to consider promoting this. I know that you can't force. We can't force organizations or businesses to do anything. But if somebody spent the time to look at what the root problem is and giving us a recommendation or a solution to the root problem, I think it's worthy of considering seriously about how we can promote that. I know that ECAP is going to promote it with from the donations of the companies that are with us. We're just going to make sure that we know what the root solution to the problem is, and that is potentially this living wage. Perhaps it's time for the town to make more of a concerted effort to promote a living wage in our communities to curb food insecurities. We know you contribute. We know you contribute generously to these causes so that we don't have to rely on the generous donations, obviously, of our community who donate incredibly. So I'm going to make a recommendation, something for us to think about. And this, a living wage, I think, is important for us to consider, to promote. But as the town of Aylmer, and our perspective, looking towards the town of Aylmer, you could help more by coming alongside others in the community, set up a warming and a cooling center in town, because there are some people that are interested in doing that, but we can't do it alone. And to promote more housing for the people that live in this community. So that's why I wanted to come this evening. I just wanted you to know that we appreciate town council. We appreciate the donations and the dollars that you give. And just like everything else, you can do more. We can do more. ECAP can do more too. And if you have any questions, please ask them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Peter.
Yeah.
Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Van Raes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, I think this is a topic that I really focus on. So first, thank you for coming up and, again, educating everybody about some of the needs. There's a lot of, you touched on a lot of different areas that we could sit here and discuss for hours and try to brainstorm different ways. But one of the key things, like you mentioned at the end, like a cooling and a warming station, which are something you find in bigger cities, which touches on one of the things I've always said since I would join council is, why do people have to leave Aylmer to get access to resources? Why can't we look at what we can do? And sometimes we have to be creative in how we do it, but why can't we look at bringing more resources here to our citizens who are residents that maybe don't have the ability to travel to St. Thomas or London to access some of these resources. You spoke about the food bank, and I sit on a committee right now where we're looking at, and I'm going to have an update for council later on, where we're looking at different resources and areas that we can bring to Aylmer to benefit the residents here. And we've talked about the food bank and like, why is it closed during the summer months or limited access during the summer months? People still need to eat. And part of that is resources. So I think the education, but also thinking of creative ways on what we can do to try to make a difference, one step at a time, just make a small difference is the way to move forward.
I agree with you. Would you let me or allow me to answer a question about why is it closed in the summer in August, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Yeah?
So what was the question again?
Oh, well,
I believe because I made the comment that like the food bank has limited hours or they're closed during the summer months.
I don't have an answer to that.
oh, yes, I do.
Okay, go
Somewhat.
ahead.
I should, as chair. So there's two reasons. Number one, it's a volunteer, everybody's a volunteer, other than the, just fails me right now. The manager of Corner Cupboard, we forced her to take a stipend amount of money because she spends way too much time there. But because it's a volunteer organization in the summertime, most of these volunteers want to take a month off. And we don't have enough volunteers to be able to continue on. But what I can say to you, and I'll name her, Penny Hilliker. Penny, anyone that calls the number for the corner cupboard and is in need of food, she'll make sure they get it. Absolutely. And during the summertime, we give a large amount of food to Family Central, so they have a cupboard out front so that people can access food there during August. And also at the St. Paul's Church at the back, there's it's called Peg's Pantry. A lady by the name of Peg Hopper started this. It's full every day with food for anybody who wants to come to do that. So there are opportunities for people to be able to do that, but it would be nice to be open the whole time. It's just like anything else. We can only we don't want to challenge our volunteer staff with, okay, so now we've got to go the whole full period of time. So, and that's something that is actually we're working on that. And other days for Corner Cupboard to be actually open and open later so that the working poor who still can't afford, even though they're working, can actually come after work instead of having to take off an hour of work to come to the Corner Cupboard to get food. So hopefully that helps a little bit in regards to that. But definitely worth listening to other ideas there. And when we're talking about a warming shelter or a cooling shelter, warming shelter, I know St. Paul's Church has offered the church between the periods of time that the Family Central would be closed, so that's 1 o'clock, until 7 o'clock, which in the wintertime would be when the shelter would potentially be open for somebody that would want to come. So they're suggesting that they could be open, but we just need help making sure that that can be open and stay open and be manned by the right people to be able to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, I just wanted to add a comment. Thank you for that presentation. The Southwest Public Health Unit has taken on this task of educating the people, especially educating this area in terms of what is meant by a living wage. And I believe that the number for this area is like $18.80 an hour or something like that, which is the living wage. And they have done a lot of research in that kind of area. The issue is that it's not necessarily just dealing with charity. It's a matter of dealing to make sure that people actually have that living wage, and that's a difficult proposition. And the government needs to be involved in this whole situation, and that's what Southwest Public Health Unit is trying to do as well. So thank you very much for that presentation. We have a resolution.
That the delegation from Peter Unger, Chair of the East Elgin Community Assistance Program, delegating regarding food insecurities and a living wage within the Elmer community be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councilors Rosier and Councilor Rahi. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda, which runs through 6.1 through 6.34, correct?
Yep.
Resolution do we have?
That the August 14th consent agenda be received for information and that the included recommendations within the staff report be adopted, and that staff approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on July 10th, 2024.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber and Councilor Oslach. There's a lot of items here, Council. Do we need to pick on one of them? I shouldn't say pick on, but talk to one of them. Councilor Rosier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can we pull 6.1.2 ammo delegations to discuss, as well as 6.2.1, which is the minutes from our last meeting?
Okay. 6.1 1.2. Did you want to ask a question on that or comment on that one, or just?
Yeah.
The report, it speaks for itself, yeah.
Okay.
So the first question is, we discussed this back in May, I believe, and there was discussion of the mayor joining for the delegations. Is that solidified, or what's happening with that?
No, I will not be able to go. All right.
All right, so while I understand the rationale of involving staff in delegations, I would like to express my concerns regarding this approach, as I addressed back in May. Given the significance of the delegation requests and their potential impact on legislative revisions, it seems important that these discussions involved an elected official who directly represents the municipality. The presence of elected officials also enhances the town's profile and demonstrates a higher level of commitment and engagement with the province. It's important that we leverage the influence of elected representatives in these key discussions to maximize our impact and build stronger relationships with the provincial government. Elected officials should advocate for municipalities rather than staff for several important reasons. Firstly, political representation. Secondly, decision-making authority. Third, strategic influence. 4, public accountability. 5, visibility and impact. Overall, while municipal staff play a critical role in implementing policy and managing operations, the advocacy efforts, especially those involving legislative changes or significant funding, are more impactful when led by elected officials. I think personally that someone from council, if the mayor's not able to, that somebody else should go and participate with these delegations.
Yeah, we have discussed this in the past, and really there's nothing, although not often, it's not common, but there are delegations without elected representatives being present to the ministry. And the ministry has approved this delegation. So I have full confidence in the fact that, CAO Grosel will present the issues of council very well. So I think, the item B, basically, we're very close to it. It's only a week away.
Certainly, it's on Sunday, Sunday morning. So certainly, there was no, we are seeing the parliamentary assistant, so we're not meeting with an elected official on the other side. This is going to be an informal discussion between two different administrators, essentially, one for the province and one for the town. Certainly, staff have always been supportive of politicians attending it as well. This was what was worked out. It's cost-effective. We're not actually, I'm not attending the AMO conference. I'm going down and I'm going to stay with my parents the night before. So we're avoiding everything but travel cost for this. Certainly, I do agree. I would love to see multiple members of council come to next year's AMO. It should certainly be in this area. It kind of alternates between Ottawa and central or southwestern Ontario. And certainly, the more council comes out for the issues, that would be great. Some of the issues we've discussed previously with the ministry. Some of them are technical proposals on amendments of legislation, but certainly staff are fully supportive of council members attending. It was council back in May, really, that didn't appoint anybody to attend when we presented it. And certainly, now at this stage, staff, back in May when we discussed it, staff were fine with not submitting any delegation requests for this year, but now at this stage, we've submitted the 4 delegation requests and they've been accepted. So I think it would be really on the wrong foot to just say to me not to go at this point, right? So that's what I'm suggesting.
Are there anyone else have comments or questions on this? Because it's a done issue, really. One more question.
It's not a question, it's more a comment. So if you go back on the meeting, the actual direction in May was, from council, was to apply for the delegation and see if the delegation was even accepted. There was no need to discuss who did it or who was going. until we knew if the delegation was accepted. So that was the actual direction back in May. So we've done that. It's been approved. I'm not suggesting to cancel the delegation. I was suggesting or canvassing this council to see if anybody was available to go in assistance to the, or I guess not in assistance, to go with the CAO. But if there's nobody from council that's available, that's fine. But I think that opportunity should be presented in case somebody is.
Does council wish to make a recommendation as to who should go to AMO with the CAO? Councilor Van Raes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Andy, you said you're just meeting with staff, you're not meeting with elected officials.
Through you, yes. So when you make the delegation, you have to put forward who's going, and we just received the approval in August. So you received the approval just I believe it was last week or the week before. So you don't get a lot of lead time for it. And yeah, it's a parliamentary assistant. And it's, for all 4 delegations, we're being provided 15 minutes. I still think it's really important to go down and show that it's important to Elmer. We've got a grant application for Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund. So there's other things that it's important for somebody to go and shake their hand.
And just follow up if you may, then if it's no elected officials, in my opinion, I don't see why a member of council needs to go if you're meeting with staff. If it was elected officials, then maybe, but at this point, I'm happy with what's set up.
If I don't see anybody make a recommendation for a council member to go, I'll move on to the next item. Don't see that happening. Okay, 6.21. Is that the other one, Councilor Rosie, I believe? Minutes of the
Yes.
regular meeting from July the 10th, right? Okay. Floor is yours.
Perfect. Council has received a letter of concern from the delegate following the most recent meeting on June 10th. In reference to the issues raised in the letter, I would like to put a motion forward that we amend the minutes or be revised to include a reference to the June correspondence received by Cynthia Grant.
Okay. So what you want to do is have the minutes read that people should check the report given by Cynthia Grant? Is that what you're suggesting?
So what I understand from reading the concerns of the delegate is that they are unhappy with the way the minutes present their concerns from delegations. So one of the suggestions by staff was to, remove the particular part that she's concerned with and then just reference the correspondence or the delegation information that was received for the June meeting.
Okay, so you want to make an amendment for that?
Yes.
You move the amendment. Is there a seconder for the Councilor Rahi? Okay. Any discussion on that? Yeah, we can do that, all right? Yeah, sure. Okay, so we'll amend the resolution when we'll read it again. Any further discussion on this at all? Any other items dealing with consent agenda? Seeing none, can you read the amended resolution?
That the August 14th consent agenda be received for information, and that the included recommendations within the staff report be adopted, and that council approves the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on July 10th, 2024, as amended.
Clarification, Your Worship, what is the amendment specifically going to say?
It would include reference back to the July 10th agenda, where we would include the correspondence received today.
Is that a normal course of procedure?
Wouldn't be normally. No, but if that is the will of council, then we can do that easily.
So we have an amendment on the floor, so we're voting on the resolution as amended first, right?
Are we voting on the
Voting on
amendment
the
first?
amendment first.
If you would like to vote on the amendment, then the amending resolution would read that the main motion be amended to include following the sentence that council approves the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on July 10th with the addition of as amended.
Okay, so I'm just asking procedurally, you should vote on the amendment first. I prefer just to vote on the whole thing at once. Can we do that? Sure.
You can do that, yes.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor to amend the minutes. Any questions on this? So when I call the vote, what happens is that we agree with the amendment to the minutes for 6.12 and agree to all the other items in the consent agenda.
We're not going to vote on the amendment?
You want to vote on the amendment separately? We'll do that first then. One person can do that. I was trying to move through more quickly. So let's vote on only the amendment first, all right? Any discussion on this amendment on the floor? Councillor Chapman.
For you, Your Worship, I just want to be clear. This is sent after the meeting, and we're going to add it to the minutes from the meeting. That doesn't make sense to me. I do understand her concern that she thinks that the variance was not minor. So that was from her original correspondence. So I don't see how a letter received today should be put in the minutes from a previous meeting.
Can we answer that first before I go to Councillor?
My response to that would just be that the correspondence was received today. Yes.
We can obviously amend minutes and correct minutes. So basically, we're doing that. And in the same process, we are, I guess, for good faith, we're adding the comments that were made by the presenter at the original meeting. So
At the original.
basically, we're doing that, right?
What she said at the original.
That's right.
Yes.
That's what I approve of, putting in her comments from the original meeting.
That's what we'd be doing, yes. And instead of the minutes as they read right now, referring to what she said, it would simply be a statement referring to those comments.
Okay.
Sorry to confiscate everything. Everybody fine with that? Okay, so we're voting on the amendment first then. All those in favor of the amendment? That's carried. Any opposed? All right. And so now we need to deal with the resolution as amended. Do you want to read the thing again?
That the August 14th, 2024 consent agenda be received for information, and that the included recommendations within the staff report be adopted, and that council approves the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on July 10th, 2024 as amended.
So all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think at this point, we will take a break, and we will recess to the Finance Committee. All right? Thank you. I just wanted to say, for those of you that are still on, we're just taking a short break, and Finance Committee will be televised. All right. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second meeting of the Town of Elmer Finance Committee for the 2025 budget. As we gather here today, we aim to continue setting the standard for municipal budgeting, an area where Elmer has consistently led among municipalities. To the members of the public watching, I would like to thank you for your engagement and encourage you to complete the 2025 budget survey or reach out to a member of council. We want to hear from you throughout the process. Today's agenda is significant and forward-looking. We will begin with the initial presentation of our draft capital budget for 2025, including the revised 10-year capital plan. This draft represents not only our financial commitments, but our aspirations for the future, for future development of our community. Following this, we will delve into a detailed report on our operating allocations for conferences, training, and development. Finally, we will review the staff's analysis concerning the cost associated with the potential development of an indoor pool. This project, like all others, reflects our dedication to enhancing recreation and community life in Elmer. Our proactive approach in initiating budget deliberation early allows us to capitalize on market opportunities, leading to savings and providing all stakeholders, staff, community members, and the council with better information on anticipated expenses for 2025. This foresight has been instrumental in our past successes and remains a cornerstone of our financial strategy. I encourage each member of the council to engage actively today. If you have questions or need further details about the capital budget or any other item, please raise them. The earlier we address these inquiries and provide clear direction to staff, the better equipped we will be able to refine our financial plans effectively. With this in mind, after today's presentation and our question and answer session, we will consider resolutions on the capital budget. This will allow us to give more precise and actionable guidance to our staff, ensuring our goals are met with the efficiency that Elmer is known for. Thank you for your continued dedication to our town's financial health and development. Let's have a productive meeting. We will begin with the minutes of the previous budget committee. I need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes. Moved by Member Chapman, seconded by Councilor Van Ray. All further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is accepted. Thank you. And with that in mind, we will move to the budget presentation. Heather, would you please begin your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you and to members of the committee, before you have the first look at the preliminary capital budget for 2025. Within that, it's $11.9 million worth of new considerations for capital. The remainder is carry forward projects. So I would like to pause with the carry forward projects and just dive into the new ones to start. Just a few notes before I start. The EECC board would be privileged to digest and approve the information prior to council coming to council for approval. Nothing has changed other than what was presented last year. So I would like to give the opportunity to that board first before we start opening up EECC capital for discussion. Similarly, police services, the numbers that have been provided in here are just for roll-up, just so that we can have craft a funding strategy for police service board. I'd like to pause with that discussion until the police service board has a chance to look at the presentation from the chief and the deputy chief on that. That said, I'd like to start with the roads, sanitary, sewer, and water. First would be the pavement program, and I'll give Michelle a minute to pull up the actual detailed map that Terry has provided, because it has a great legend on here, and it talks about new projects and existing projects. So for the mill and pave, if you go down to the bottom, Michelle, there's a little legend. So there's the mill and pave projects, which is to do with the $275,000 proposed in 2025. So if you scroll back up, you'll be able to see the 2025 projects for mill and pave, I believe, are a little bit higher. There we go. So we have Elm Street and Progress Drive. So these are proposed for 2026, 2027, and so forth. We don't believe it'll change, but as needs change, this map might change, but we do want to provide this for council to consider. The next program that we have on the list is the sidewalk program. So again, Terry's provided a map with a legend. The one we would be targeting in 2025 would be the missing link still existing at John Street. So if what he's done is targeted the missing links first and then would carry on to, existing sidewalk that needs to be redeveloped. The most exciting project that everybody's been waiting for is Elk Street. So I'll give Michelle a second to flip back to the spreadsheet. Elk Street is divvied up on the spreadsheet for between roads, the roads components, the water components, the sewer components. Overall, it's $8.1 million, but you see it in different sections purely for the funding strategy to be crafted. Again, if we can tender that at the end of this year, that would be great. You'll see a report coming from Terry forward to kick that off. So that's changed from the phased-in approach because we were able to fund the majority of the funding gap was in sewer. We were able to fund that with the reserves. So between DC reserves, wastewater, water reserves, and the OSIF money that's available in the obligatory fund, we're able to fund that entire project. In 2025, we'll probably do top lift asphalt in 2026, but the majority of the project cost is in 2025. We have the lagoons optimization, which is further down, which is a huge project for our development team. So basically, we're optimizing the lagoons, we're expanding the treatment of those lagoons, and we're able to take the capacity on for the new developments that are happening. So we did put in a grant application for it. We're still awaiting to hear about that. So currently, the entire project would be funded from debt. We would also include a couple of the pump stations in that debt issuance. The only amounts that would be included from the reserves would be the SCADA components, which have a water, a sanitary, sewer component. So that would be the only portion that we would fund out of our reserves for that. I'm going to jump to parks. So poor Susie has had quite a task taking the Parks and Rec master plan, taking these placeholder values and trying to quickly prioritize with no previous plan to strategize and figure out which identifiable projects we can present to council. These are going to change. She has, people coming out, checking out the facilities, seeing how much things cost. Her and Jamie are doing a great analysis on that. So these are just placeholder values. They may change, but we want to basically have a couple projects for council to debate and discuss. If the sports courts come out and they're less money and we can put more money into Lions Park, we'll ask for council's approval to do that. So, but these are the projects that we would propose for 2025. The only carry forward project would be for the ball diamonds. We're waiting for Minor Ball to come up with their plan. So technically that $65,000 that's budgeted in 2024 won't be spent. We'll just carry it forward out of the Parks Reserve in 2025. With Susie and Jamie looking through all those parks and trying to figure out which priorities are going to happen or which they would like to happen, we'll get more detail from that perspective. Legislative services is the next area. As I said, I'm going to jump over EECC right now. Owen's come up with, and his team have come up with two projects, one for council chamber accessibility. So we have AODA requirements. We've had some complaints from the public that, they're unable to hear and stuff like that. So we'd like to make sure that everybody's included in our council meetings. So that would be provided through a grant, part of it through a grant application, the funding. The rest of it would come out of the technology reserve. Citizen engagement platform is something that's been asked about through council indirectly for more public engagement. That's another project, and I'll leave the details to Owen to discuss. And then lastly, fire. They're continuing just to replace the bare bones needs of the organization. So they're looking to replace the air packs. They're doing that every year as they expire. So as I said, $11.9 million new capital. The rest are carry forward. Those carry forward numbers will change as, invoices come in before year end. But I did want to include them in the approval for council so that they could understand that there's a lot of capital leaving happening and a lot of money leaving the reserves. But it's fully funded, this plan that we're presenting tonight. And we have the team here. So we have Terry, Susie, and Connor here. If Andy, Owen, myself, if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Heather. Do any members of the committee have any questions? Okay, Member Van Ray? No, you had your hand up first, Owen.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I almost said Mr. Mayor. My questions, right now my questions would be, and some concerns around the fire budget. I know, like, they're currently replacing SCBA air packs, and there's something in there for bunker gear, which obviously is a necessity, but I see that we're putting Support 1 off until 2027 when Rescue 6 is due to be replaced. And my concern is, if we keep putting off fire truck replacements, because I believe ladder came up, and we put that off until, we're hoping to get until 2030, as I see right now, and hoping it's still around the 2.9 million by the time that comes around. Are there opportunities to look at replacing something like Support 1 before Rescue 6 is due? So that way we're not trying to purchase multiple fire trucks at the same time. The reason I ask that is just from personal experience, knowing that Support 1 is it's a responding fire truck that also tows our foam trailer, which was recently used at the fires in Tillsonburg. And so something that could be used by us and municipal or other municipal partners. So it's an important truck. So I'm just wondering if there's options to look at that sooner than 2027, or there's the thought process behind putting it off till 2027.
Who would like to answer that? Heather?
I hate answering this because the fire chief's not here, but so what we're asking for right now is detailed consideration on 2025 projects. That said, we do not have, we need to work through a vehicle replacement plan because Connor's team is also in the same boat. So we have snowplows and dump trucks that are beyond their lifespan, and we need to, as a council and as a team, strategize to figure out, how are we going to spend this $300,000? Who needs it more? So to answer your question, we're not sure yet, but we definitely will be looking at all of the police service vehicles, all of the fire vehicles, and all of the operations vehicles, including parks, throughout 2025 to come up with a strategy for council so that it's palatable, it's able to be funded, and you guys have an idea to say, how much do we need to put away in order to replace all these vehicles that we haven't saved for in the last 25 years. So currently, we do not have enough money to fund those vehicles at all, which is why they're pushed out. And when we talked to the chief, there may be some overhaul that can happen between some of those vehicles that may not warrant a brand-new truck, but if we're selling our old fire vehicles to other municipalities, they must be upgrading them somehow. So we need to sit as a team and look at that strategy in order to, make sure that we're replacing the things before the big repairs and maintenance happen. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but all of the vehicles need to be looked at as a whole.
Follow up?
No, thank you very much. I know it's difficult to give a straightforward answer. We can do it this year because it's an ever-changing process, which I appreciate the work that you put in. It helps me understand it. When I see fire is basically just bare minimum right now, I just want to make sure that we don't overlook that we recognize the hard work that our community members are putting in, so I just don't want to overlook that. So just wanted to make that.
Okay, thank you. Member Chapman?
It's in regards to the lagoon and the debt. So the lagoon's upgrade, it will be covered by service charges?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so all the lagoons optimization was covered through the wastewater rates and is either going to be funded through debt or through the portion that we can through DCs. So basically, the funding strategy is whatever we can get out of DCs at that time, that's in the DC study, we'll fund, and then whatever we need to issue debt for, we'll issue debt for. What's triggering now is we just got the SCADA tender results, which we haven't been able to put together a report for council yet. But once that number comes in, it'll depend on how much of that SCADA number is going to be needed for the sewer reserve for me to say to you, this is how much debt we're going to issue. Roughly, it's about $3.1 million, and then probably 900,000 would come out of DCs is for the whole optimization project. But if the SCADA project comes in lower, then we'll be able to give more money, less money from debt and more money from our sewer reserves. But all of this was in the wastewater rates.
Okay.
Member Oslich?
Yes, your chair. To Heather, can you go over more detailed on Elk Street?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm probably not the one to speak about technical details about Elk Street. Terry's done a great job at providing me these detailed estimates. So if I could defer the question to Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. Through the chair to committee, Elk Street, it's about at the 90% design stage right now. It's been designed to the original cross-section that was brought before council, about a year ago, with a multi-use path on the north side of the road, 2 driving lanes, a sidewalk on the south side, and parking on the south side. The consultant's getting very close. Like I said, it's at about the 90% design stage. They're awaiting some of these conversations and what happens tonight on how to move forward with it, whether or not the project is phased or continues on as a one large project. So that's the status of it now. I don't know if you have any specific questions regarding the design or...
Can you go into the funding? The funding?
Yes, through the chair. So we use some of our asset management numbers to compare with the estimates we were getting from the design consultant. They put together tender documents to put together a detailed price for the project. So those are the numbers that you're seeing in front of you now. So the roadworks, which includes the storm, is included in the general transportation and roads totals. The sanitary and water is broken out for the sanitary sewers, the water main. Those costs are broken out below, but those are the totals from the estimate provided by the consultant. We compared those with our asset management numbers, and they were very close for budget purposes.
Are there any other questions? Member DeRosa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several capital item questions and concerns to address. A shopping list, as you classified it last year. Do you want me to go through item by item, or would you like me to wait to the end till somebody else
Are
is
you
done?
proposing that additional items be included in the capital budget? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, no additional items. I want to discuss and possibly oppose other capital items that are already being proposed.
In order for it to be transparent, let's hear your thoughts.
Okey-doke.
We'll judge it as we go along.
Okay, that sounds good. So the first one I have is the citizen engagement platform for $15,000 that's being suggested. How does this platform differ from our current social media channels and town websites, aside from the inherent $15,000 cost?
Owen?
Yeah, through the chair. So currently, our town website very much provides static information. It doesn't give individuals from the public the ability to log in or track the items on the website. So we present information there, but there's no manner for them to actually engage with it directly on the website or get updates. And then our Facebook is much more of an advertising platform where we are attempting to outreach to the public. Basically, for our citizens that are on social media, for the platforms that we engage with, they may see our posts. We do promote our posts and attempt to make as many of our residents see them as possible. But this platform would fill kind of a gap in the middle there, where our citizens that are particularly engaged in specific projects could actually create an account. They could follow the development of a project, something like Elk Street. Specifically, this was a suggestion of the APAC committee for the Old Town Hall. So they could create a user account on the website. There's options to interact there in terms of discussion boards. They would get push notifications to their devices through email when there are updates from the town on the device. And just one moment. Yes, as well as participatory budgeting. So a lot of these platforms, the exact features would be the result of an RFP, but there would be options for participatory budgeting in the future if we wanted to engage the community in specific budgeting initiatives. So that is really the gap that it fills.
Do you have a follow-up question?
I do, yes. So there was some examples included within the report of similar, I guess, websites or platforms. Have analytics on the engagement and participation of those examples been reviewed and considered prior to bringing this recommendation to council?
Not specifically, primarily due to this being a preliminary proposal to council. If this is something you want us to dive into, certainly we can. But we do look towards a lot of our neighboring municipalities that use this type of program, and we were looking to expand specifically our outreach to the community with this.
It appears to be a conceptual expansion of the social media platform, and again, it's a dollar figure at this particular time. How it evolves will be up to the process itself. A further question?
More comment. I personally, I think, without looking at the benefit of this prior to approving it, I just don't see the need to have this capital item. I feel like that's valuable information to consider. Like, these other organizations, Central Elgin, Elgin County, whatever, could utilize this platform, but if they're not receiving significant engagement, then it's a waste of money. So without looking at those analytics and validating this as an expense, personally, I don't see the need for it. I think it should be something that's put on
Are
hold.
you suggesting that this item should be deleted from the budget?
Yes.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, certainly.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we remove the citizen engagement platform from the 2025 capital budget.
And do we have a seconder for that motion? The motion does not carry. Thank you. Do you have another question?
I do. So the next one I have is about the playground equipment capital item. I don't know if we can have Michelle pull up attachment 1 and then page 17 specifically. That's while I'm talking about it. So part of this capital budget expense was the consideration of outdoor workout equipment. So I wanted to know what considerations were made to prioritize outdoor workout equipment as a priority capital item.
Susie?
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the committee. That was a piece taken directly from the Parks and Rec Master Plan. So there was a gap that was identified in outdoor, free, accessible, basically opportunities for adults and seniors to participate in recreation in the community. So that was an actionable suggestion right from the master plan, and something that'd be quite feasible along our trail system, specifically in safe and sort of accessible areas between Balmoral, Kinsman, Optimist Park. So that's where that came from, was directly from the master plan. So that's just an example of, again, this being a preliminary capital exercise. That was just an example of something folks may have seen in other communities. It may not be the exact piece that could be proposed to be installed, but an example of something within the budget. Thank you.
Follow-up question regarding that? So these areas you're proposing to put them in, are they not within a flood zone?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, to the committee. Our park systems are typically in a lower lying area, so it does experience flooding and is impacted when we have exceptional weather events in the creek bank floods. So these types of equipments are installed on a concrete pad, so they're not elevated, but they are protected. I think you'll notice in our most recent, we had an exceptional weather event in January, and Optimist Park, Steen, like we were underwater. So I think regardless of what we install, making sure it's a future-proof piece of equipment, and we be cognizant of the location we put them in. Those are the areas that we're working with, so making sure that the equipment's appropriate for the spot and go forward.
Does that answer your question, Member DeRosa?
Well, not really, it answers the question, but not the concern. So these low-lying areas are submerged under quite a bit of water throughout the flooding season. So, we could have sometimes 4 feet of water there. So these would be fully submerged. So how does that leave us in terms of integrity of the equipment and having a warranty on them and, things being wrecked? We also have lots of debris coming through there with like the rushing water. So I don't know. To me personally, I just don't see this being as a good idea. But has that consideration been given, or?
Could you answer that, please?
Sure, thank you. Through you, Chair, to the committee. The location hasn't been specifically identified yet, but the same consideration would be given to playground equipment or any new infrastructure that's installed. We're certainly not underwater 365 days a year. We'd make sure that we'd source equipment that would be somewhat future-proof and have a lifespan and be located in an area that we wouldn't be throwing good money after bad, that's for sure, and benefiting the community at the same time. So I can't identify a specific location, but those concerns will certainly be taken into consideration before any location's suggested.
Does that answer your question, Member DeRosa?
Yes, I have a separate question because that budget item has 2 items on it. So I see Councillor Rahi has his hands up though, so I can pass it to him for now.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what's the rough cost on that? Because I see kids playing more in the park than old people going to work out. I would just as soon see the investment go into our degrading park equipment than, sorry, old people, but I don't see it getting used. I would rather see the money go to the hundreds of kids that I see in the park every day. As far as the weather down there, that stuff's been there for years. It's really no different than, like, the kid stuff is the old people stuff, but I just as soon see the kid stuff than the old people stuff for now. I think we need to build up that stuff first, but that might have been wrong to say, but I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not, I'm sorry.
Is there a statement from your question?
I would like to not put anything like that in and spend the money on playground equipment,
Well, following the same, are there any other comments from the members of the committee? Just a second, Member DeRosa. Any other members? Okay, and Member DeRosa?
He can go.
Just a comment through you, Mr. Chair, but there is a budget line for playground equipment. Am I correct with that? So there's a separate budget line for the playground equipment. This would just be an additional item to offer extra services. Am I correct, Susie?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee. It would be part of the proposed improvements. So you'll see in your, within your package, there's suggested an accessible swing to be installed. And then, considerations for a variety of upgrades. And as Heather had mentioned sort of in her introduction, these are preliminary. We're working hard to put a plan together to find true costs of different pieces to be included, and those can certainly be included in subsequent reports to share with council.
Susie, would it be fair to say, for the benefit of the members of the committee, that the specific pieces of equipment have not been defined as of yet? There is a rough budget, and with the input from the Park and Recreation Committee as one group and user groups, that potentially you would more define what the budget items were going to be. Would that be fair?
Through you, Chair, yes, I'd say that would be fair.
Hearing that, then, does a member of council wish to delete or amend the amount for recreation equipment? Member DeRosier?
I don't want to delete or amend it, but I just want to clarify. So we're defining it in this report specifically as this workout equipment, but we're not going to budget towards that. I just want to understand the significance of outlining that in that comprehensive report if that's not what we're going to budget. I just don't want to budget this. Like, I'm happy budgeting, like Member Rahi said, $50,000 going towards rehabilitating our current parks, because if you actually go there and you utilize them with children, we're worried about accessibility. Meanwhile, the surface area for all of our parks are completely rutted out. We've had mulch on top that's eroding, there's rutting. So again, like, as Member Rahi said, I feel like that $50,000 opposed to workout equipment and even an accessibility swing, that we look at prioritizing rehabilitating our current services that we have in those parks, that playground, getting it basically to a perfect standard before we look at adding any other services. So I just want to clarify, even though it's in the report, it's not being approved for that. I'm just really confused.
I'll try and answer that particular question. At this particular time, we're looking at a dollar amount to enhance the equipment, and at the appropriate time, a report will come back to council for approval with the specific items that are involved in the project.
Okay.
So this is the dollars only.
Okay.
It's not to specify the equipment per se.
Okay, I'm good with that then.
That be reasonable and fair?
Yes, that makes complete sense.
Okay. Do you have another point?
Oh, yes, I actually do have another item on here. The sidewalk program. I want to ask our Director of Infrastructure will the analysis of the need, like what our priority list is for our sidewalk program, will it evolve as our development progresses? I see there's date figures there that we have allocated certain years for the sidewalk program, but we do have a lot of developments happening. Like, even, for example, there's that large development happening, John Street South. I can't remember how many townhomes it is, but we have that missing link on the further John Street South. So as all of our development throughout town progresses, do you evolve your analysis for the needs?
Yes,
Would you like to answer that, Terry?
Absolutely. Through the chair to the members of the committee, it's absolutely a kind of a living, breathing document. We utilize our sidewalk rating system right now, so anytime new links are discovered, even if they're just a small intersection, we'll rank them and add them to the map. But as new developments come in that create new missing links, they'll be added to the priority system and added to the list. Absolutely.
And the developments themselves within the development is part of the site plan agreement, where new sidewalks are provided within that specific zone, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And it is the goal to work with the developer, if they can complete the missing links on their dollar through a site plan, that would be the goal. To not create missing links through development, but it has to be within reason. I mean, a lot of developers wouldn't be willing to do a full block of sidewalk. So where we can, we like to work as a partnership and not create missing links, but work together.
Thank you. Does that satisfy your question, Member
Yeah.
Rosen?
That's perfect.
Do you have any others?
I just have one more, and it's about the police capital budget item. I know we're not discussing it because it needs to go to the police board and then come back. I just want to confirm, it is coming back to council for approval in October, November. Is that the plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this is just the preliminary roll-up for funding. The whole detailed proposal will go to the Police Service Board, I believe, October timeframes, so that we can have the approval for, from the approval or denial from the Police Board before it comes back to council.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business, 622, Chief Administrative Officer, Training Professional Development. Sorry, did I miss something?
Just the resolution.
Oh,
I can read it.
sure, that'd be nice. Thank you.
That report Finance 18-24 respecting the 10-year capital budget be received as information, and that council acknowledge the proposed 10-year capital budget and the described work as presented, and that council directs staff to present the final 2025 capital budget and discretionary budget for review and adoption at a future meeting.
Thank you. Sorry for the oversight. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Member Chapman, seconded by Member Oslach. A further discussion? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to 622. Andy, is that you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you is the report on training, memberships, and professional development. So I've worked in municipal government for around 15 years, and I've seen a few of these reports, but this is the most comprehensive overview that I've seen undertaken on this specific budget area. This was only possible because we had a lot of great input from managers and staff, so I want to thank those involved who made this a priority. Our hope is that this report will provide some insights to both council and the public on this area, as it's one of those areas that's frequently misunderstood. This report also meets the town's strategic direction to encourage transparency. So Elmer is an organization that's really committed to being a learning organization. That's really important to ensure that we have low attrition and continue to build the positive corporate culture that we have here. And an important component of that is ensuring that training opportunities are available for staff and also for council. In terms of the operational budget, we've strived for several years to remove unnecessary budget padding. The one outcome of this was the outcomes of this were kind of evident in this review. So when I was looking at other municipalities, what I was seeing was a lot of budgeting for the year previous amount and saying, well, we only spent half of that amount, but we're still going to budget for that same amount this year. We don't do that here. We don't recommend that. We kind of look at what we actually anticipate for specific events for staff, training, and we budget towards that. And we're not recommending any change in that. So we don't foresee a big change in 2025 with training. But when you look at where Elmer is positioned with other municipalities, we do appear to be on the lower end, especially when you consider that we have more professional staff here. So it's almost an apples and oranges comparison when you compare us to some other municipalities, because if they don't have say a planner on staff, they're paying those training and membership things probably at a much higher rate, but that's being done by the private sector rather than the public sector, and it's incorporated within the consultant fees. So even though our fees look low, we're actually probably lower because other municipalities would be paying for private industry training, which is, I think there's a joke in the municipal administrative sector about they want to go private to get for training opportunities in Las Vegas and Florida. So they definitely spend more than we would in the public purse, and that's what we get by having the professional staff in here. Elmer is likely underfunding training and development, but we're not recommending any changes. The only aspect that we'd really like council to consider is increasing your own budget for 2025. This is an area where you're clearly underfunding. We're recommending that staff, that you include $1,000 per council, $1,500 for the deputy mayor, and $2,000 for the mayor in the 2025 budget. So that is a change we would like to see you give us some direction to incorporate when we go forward with the operational budget. And with that, myself or staff will try our best to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Andy. Any questions from the members of the committee? Seeing none, Owen, do we have a motion?
Yes, that report CAO 3824, respecting training, professional development, and membership review be received as information.
Seconder, please.
I have a question. Sorry, I have a question before we actually vote on the motion.
We've called the question, but this particular time, go ahead.
So I'm just confused due to the conclusion that was like listed by staff. Are we moving forward with allocating those funds, or are we not? It was staff's recommending it, but is that what we're voting on right now?
We're recommending the report be accepted as presented.
Are we going to discuss it?
There's a
or-
modification for sure into the councilor numbers. Andy, do you want to clarify on the staffing perspective?
Yeah, certainly, we're recommending an increase for council. So if I don't hear anything further, I think we can assume that we should include those numbers in the operational budget, the
Okay.
draft operational budget for you.
I was just
that
confirming the
satisfy your
direction.
concern?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Still looking for a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Member DeRose, second by Member Rahi. A further discussion? All those in favor? And the motion is carried. And 623, CAO, examination of an indoor pool, a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before the committee is a report on pursuing an indoor pool for the community. Staff tried to be realistic about this project, so we wanted to avoid over-promising and under-delivering to the community. There's a substantial current funding pressures, which mean that the project would likely need to be longer term. We're also cognizant of the need to avoid any new amenity becoming a white elephant, which would mean it would have an undue impact on the local tax levy. One municipality that's considerably larger than Elmer, Haldeman County, is currently considering a similar indoor pool and is looking at a time frame of 8 to 10 years for this project. So we understand there's a desire to move quickly, but staff do think it's more realistic for, considering we're even smaller, to consider a longer time frame. If council does want to proceed, we're recommending that we take some initial engineering in 2026, which would enable us to apply for grant opportunities prior to the end of this term of council. Obviously, grant funding, investment by other municipalities or the county, or local fundraising or partnerships could bring the time frame of a project like this significantly forward. In summary, I do believe council's desire to pursue this is an indication that you are listening to the community. We have heard through the budget surveys time and time again that people want more amenities and recreation services here. So something like an indoor pool would do that. So staff are 100% supportive of investment in parks and recreation. Our challenge is simply the existing financial limitations and whether or not there's a viable business case for the town to pursue such a project without partners or funding. And with that, we'll try to answer any questions of the committee.
Thanks, Andy. Any questions? Member Chapman?
I would like to see this move forward. We have to start somewhere, and I realize that it's a long-term project, but if we don't start funding, we're never going to get there. And it is something that the community wants, it's something that the community needs. And I'm sure once we start this project and it's on its way, that there will be support from the community and fundraising will happen. So I am all for moving forward.
Thank you. Member Rahi?
I would like to, through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to mimic Member Chapman. What is the potential cost that we need to do to kind of get the ball rolling, 10 to 15% of the?
Yeah, so I think in discussions, I think we would not do a full engineering initially because of the time frame, but we'd probably come forward for the 2026 budget and look for around 150,000 to begin getting detailed kind of plan for the facility. And that would give us at least something that would be close enough to shovel-ready to get grant applications out.
I think, through you, Mr. Chair, I think that's really important because if we can kind of get ahead of it and get some grants and, or some, as long as the money doesn't go to waste, as long as it doesn't get spent on that and then it just dissipates over the years and nothing ever happens with it. So I think it should be pursued, but I think it needs to, we need to push it. What was the total cost on the Elk Street? Like everything? What was that, 7 million?
8 million.
8 million?
8.1? Terry, do you have the number offhand, or Heather?
8.101 million.
That's what confuses my simple brain, is that 4,000 square, or 4,000 feet of road is the same cost as roughly putting in a swimming pool. Maybe we should make our roads simpler, and then we'd have a pool sooner.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, member Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just glad to see that the indoor pool is a line item on the capital budget. I was somewhat dismayed that it was 2026 that we actually spend some money on the engineering plans for it, or the architectural plans, because I'd like to see it moving more quickly than that. But we still haven't passed the capital budget in total, so maybe we can change that item when we comes back to council. I know a lot of people have spoken to me about the fact that they would really like to see a pool, and some of the other comments have gone from field of dreams to are you kidding? You know, depending on the cost, but and the number 40,000 has been bandied about in terms of that's the kind of population that we require in order to have an indoor pool and maintain it in some kind of, financial sustainability. I just wanted to point out to council that there are lots of communities that are smaller than $40,000 who have indoor pools. Looking at some of the information I got from Heidi, you remember Heidi Wenninger, who was here earlier this year, or last year, I've forgotten. And she pointed out that, for example, Wilmot Township, with a population of 22,000, has an indoor pool. Wingham and North Huron, with populations that are less than 15,000, has an indoor pool. The municipality of Saugeen Shores, the population of 17,000, has an indoor pool. So it is possible. The numbers are a matter of, I guess, how many people support it, but I know if we added the numbers from Central Elkin and Malahide and Elmer and Bayham, that we probably have a pretty sustainable number for the pool. I know it's expensive, and I thank Councillor Member Rai for pointing out it's like another Elk Street, to have this. And the number that you're seeing in terms of the number from GM Blue is a number that about 8.2 million or something for it. It does include a walking track. And I think we should remember that an indoor pool is part of the whole concept of providing more programming for the residents of this community. And certainly, I guess you can tie that to the concept. Further on in the agenda, we talk about a programmer for the complex and that kind of thing. We can do a lot more with the complex, and I think the pool fits into that whole category. So all I'm saying is let's move forward on that and take one step at a time. And the step we take today, I think, should be that let's start on it maybe in 2025. Part of that 150,000, maybe we can do 75 or something like that. But we need the shovel-ready plans. And these communities that I talked about, they got a lot of grants from various sources, and there are sources out there that give grants for infrastructure of this kind. And Elmer and area needs this. Anyway, Thank you very much for listening to me, Ram.
I have another,
follow-up?
well, it's just actually a kind of a general question. I don't really know if it should be asked. Would we keep the outdoor pool open if we put an indoor pool in? Because with the cost that we have coming to the outdoor pool, would go nicely towards an indoor pool.
I think you have an answer to that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe we'd probably close the outdoor pool, but I wouldn't, certainly in an operating of an indoor pool year-round as compared to operating an an outdoor pool for a couple months compared to an indoor pool year-round would be drastically different. I think the cost of the indoor pool would be closer to the cost of operating the EECC.
Are there any?
Forget about it.
Okay. Any other questions? Member DeRosa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the possibility, I've asked this before at previous council meetings, and I haven't really received a clear answer, but would the possibility of refurbishing the outdoor pool to make it an indoor pool ever be explored as part of this consultation? Because I feel like it's a good location, the infrastructure and the mechanicals are there, so it's really just making it indoor. Would that ever be explored as part of this consultation?
Andy?
Through you, when we met with when we had the meeting with the person who reviewed the pool last year to get the condition assessment on it, Rob had asked that question, and the basic response was that it would be just as costly, if not more costly, to build, and you'd have to completely redo everything. You'd have to take out the concrete, new mechanical, new everything. So all you would get was the same location, and it would likely be with additional demolition costs of what's there.
And is it not in the floodplain as well?
Yes.
Member Cookett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I
Is this
could-
an answer to the question?
Yes. If I could add to what Andy said, the size of the pool does not solve the problem for our swim team, because the size means that anyone using that pool for meets doesn't get to count their times, because it is a size that is not acceptable for swim teams. So if we want to support, we want to do everything. We want to have recreation swimming, we want to have programs for kids to learn how to swim, and we want to provide a venue for our swim team, then building a new pool would make more sense than using the old one.
Follow-up?
Yeah, I just thought of a different question as well. If the proposal is to adjoin it with the EECC, does this budgetary item have to be brought forth to the EECC board for endorsement? Like, or are we just doing this kind of on our own, or how does that work?
Andy?
Through you, Mr. Chair, certainly as the project got more refined, we'd look at any partnerships or potential things that we needed to consider. That property is currently 50-50 owned by both municipalities. So while we'd love to have Malahide be a partner in it, I think if we approach them at some later stage, it would be to get their acceptance on having something put on the land that our community would benefit from. But we certainly would have any discussions of that, and there's by no means any decision on where anything would go at such an early stage.
This is all very preliminary. We're just taking baby steps toward the conceptual of the provision of an indoor pool, and answers to the questions or new questions will evolve as time progresses. Right now, it's a question of just getting it started. Are there any other questions at this particular time from the members of council, or from the members of this committee? Okay, Owen, we have a motion then?
That report CAO 39-24 respecting examination of the indoor pool be received as information.
A mover and a seconder, please. Member Cookett and Member Rahi. Further discussion? All those in favor? The motion is accepted. Thank you. New business and inquiries by members? Seeing none? We'll call for a resolution. Do we need a motion for that?
Yep. That the committee now adjourn at 8:02 PM.
Moved by Member Van Ray and Member Rahi. All those in favor? And carried. Thank you, people.
Welcome back. Item 7.2, staff reports, Director of Infrastructure, Development and Planning Activity Biannual Update. Resolution.
That report, Plan 24-24, be received by the Council of the Town of Elmer regarding Development Activity Biannual Update 2024 for information purposes.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers, Councilor Chapman. And so resolution, no, we have Director of Infrastructure. Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council, this report provides a high-level summary of the beginning of the 2024 development year. I'll just go over some of the key points of the report. Development team has been very busy to start the year. We're seeing many developers are making a push to commence with fall construction. There are 3 subdivisions that are serviced, ready for residential construction. Willow Run subdivision is very nearly complete and will be ready shortly for the issuance of individual building permits. This subdivision alone includes 185 units as a part of this development. We had the groundbreaking at the new AIM Park yesterday. It's nearly complete and ready for industrial development. There are several site plans that have been or are very close to being finalized for various commercial and residential developments. We expect that building permits will increase over the coming months and into next year. There's a lot of information in the report, but if there's any questions for the development team, we'd be happy to answer them.
Council. Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Terry and all staff. That was quite an impressive demonstration yesterday. When you get back in and see the expanse of AIM Park and how far it's come from what it was just a few short months ago, very, very impressive. Good work.
Councilor Van Raes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. apologize, I wasn't able to make it yesterday, so there was another commitment, but I wish I was there to see that presentation, but just want to say, great work. It's good to see all the development that's happening here in Elmer, and that you're progressing, moving forward. I'm assuming that some of this development helps pay for some of the other projects that we're working on, so it's great to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions regarding that are or not on here. Firstly, Willow Run. I wanted to know about the trail that's currently roughed in right now with gravel. Is there a timeline for it to be paved? And the other question I had about Willow Run actually is coming from residents living on Hawthorne Crescent. There's been, the developer has built a fence along the rail line, and there's plans to have a fence built along Hawthorne Crescent homes, but that hasn't been done yet. So they've inquired and asked if I could ask when that was, if you knew when that was planned to be done, because they're having a lot of construction dirt and debris blowing into their backyards. So I don't know if you have an answer for those two, but I thought I would ask.
Yes, thank you. Through your worship to Councillor DesRosiers. Firstly, the trail paving, that is scheduled for September, weather permitting. Obviously, they want to wait till it's dry just because it's kind of a wet area down there. So they want to let the gravel sit, and this was done through a partnership with the town as well through Rotary Park. It is scheduled for mid-September for paving and also the topsoil work around the path. The second question on the fencing, the fence that is up along the north edge of the development is actually a CN requirement. So that's the noise fence that had to go up on a safety berm there. So that's why that was the first fencing to be put up. I could inquire with the developer when the other fencing would go up along Hawthorne. Usually it's as residential development progresses, they start to infill fencing as they can, just so it doesn't get damaged and they can do the final lot grading on the lots. So hopefully that answers your questions.
Another one.
That did answer my questions, but I just have two more. Two other locations that weren't on the development report here. One is Centennial Estates. I didn't see this development included, and I just was hoping we could get an update on that. And secondly, the downtown fire location. I didn't see that on here, and I have been having members of the public inquiring about that. So I was just wondering if we could get an update on those two as well.
Yes, through your worship to Councillor DesRosiers. Centennial Estates, it's the individual lots are marketed on MLS right now. I'm sure everyone's seen the signs around town marketing for home building. They have a realtor. I did inquire just to touch base with the developer. They said they're getting many inquiries, but the current interest rates are not ideal for them right now. It sounds like there is more movement now in the past couple months. We've also received several inquiries from residents wondering about zoning, things like that at Centennial Estates. So it seems like there is more movement there, if you will. But it's up to them, to the developer and individual home builders on that. But it seems positive at this point that there will be more residential development in that subdivision. I honestly don't have an update for the Talbot Street fire location. I see.
Yeah, so I was having some discussions with Tyler about the Talbot Street fire location just last week or the week before. Our understanding is that the landowner still intends to develop it. We don't have any development application before us. I think there's been at least one individual contact them to offer to purchase the property off of them, and they said they were not interested because they do intend to develop it. Again, probably a situation where they're waiting for the interest rates or for something, but we will continue to keep in touch with the owners of the property, hoping that it gets developed quickly.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you. Further to Andy's last comment, regarding that property, would it be possible to contact the owner of the property and see if it's feasible to put perhaps a park bench or so or potted trees just to kind of spruce the place up a bit?
Yes, I can reach out.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much for that report, Terry. As I like to say, great things are happening in Elmer, and you kind of prove it with your report. We have a resolution on the floor, so we need a vote. All those in favor accepting the report? Carried, thank you. 7.22, Manager of Planning and Development, Summary of Elmer Settlement Area Boundary Expansion Resolution.
That report Plan 25-24, Summary of Elmer Settlement Area Boundary Expansion, background memo be received for information purposes.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber, Councillor Chapman. And Heather, you're doing it.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. You have the report from Stantec, which is the background memo, which, as well as my report, which concludes the first phase of this study. We will be looking at moving on to the second phase. There's a lot of information in this report, and there'll be more information provided as we move through this process. Thank you.
Council, any questions? As Heather said, there's a lot of information here, and we'll be hearing more about it in the future. All right. So all those in favor of the report? That's carried. Thank you. And item 723, Manager of Planning and Development, to report on the land assessment, all parties advisory group.
That report Plan 26-24 be received regarding the Town of Elmer Settlement Expansion Lands Assessment All Parties Advisory Group for information purposes, and that council appoint blank to sit on the Town of Elmer Settlement Expansion Lands Assessment All Parties Advisory Group along with the staff representative.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Oslach and Councillor Rosier. Is there any report to give on that? No? No, just a basic, trying to fill in who's going to be on that advisory group, and I will put my name forward because I think I should be on this committee along with Andy. The Malahide counterparts are the mayor and the CAO, and we've been working with this for a long period of time, so I feel I should carry on with this, so I need a mover and a seconder to do that. Councillor Desrosiers, you move that, and Councillor Chapman. All right, so we'll appoint myself, and doesn't say anything about Andy, but he'll be the other person there. Any questions about it? Councillor Desrosiers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any plans for public consultation or forums to gather input and address concerns related to the boundary expansion?
All kinds. Do you want to answer that, Heather?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor DeRosier. Yes, there is going to be lots of public consultation, open houses. There's multiple phases to this project. We're just kind of wrapping up phase one, heading into phase two, which is appointing the representatives to this all-parties advisory group. I would like to give one brief update. I mentioned in the report about all the different parties that I've reached out to. I have heard back from Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. They're sending a representative. I also understand Elgin Federation of Agriculture is having a meeting tonight. Our request is before them tonight, so I should have an update very shortly on who they will, if they'll be participating, and as well, already mentioned, Malahide's already responded.
Thank you, and I mentioned Andy would be part of this group, but certainly we're going to rely on Heather quite a bit to fill in for that, so thank you as well. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Yes, carried, thank you. Item 724, Manager of Parks and Recreation on Senior Community Grant Program Resolution.
That report Recreation 20-24 entitled Seniors Community Grant Program 2024 to 2025 be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Van Raes, Councillor Chapman. And Susie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Council. I'm happy to present this report tonight. This is a good news story for the town of Elmer. Staff have applied for a grant through the Seniors Community Seniors Community Grant Program for 2024 and 2025 and received notice that we were successful in a grant award of just over $14,000. This grant opportunity opened February 20th, closed March 28th, so it was a relatively small window to put a program together. This is an annual funding opportunity through the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility. Programming for this grant is geared towards older adults 55 plus. This funding allows community groups across a province to offer a wide variety of activities that help seniors to live independently, ensure their safety and security, connect them to the community, avoid isolation, and help them achieve greater financial security and social connections. So, as I'd mentioned, it was a relatively short application window, but based on resources, we applied for a realistic project based on staff capacity and, again, input from the master plan. We're looking to build capacity in the community for recreation programming, and this gives us an opportunity to address that need for older adults. What we're planning to do with these funds is two parts: offering monthly drop-in programming to be hosted at the East Elgin Community Complex. It'll be a connection club, so alternate months will feature drop-in shuffleboard or pickleball. The lobby area will be set up with different board games and card games with light refreshments and snacks, so there'll be food for the program. That'll be a half-day program offered once a month. Registration isn't required for that program, so folks can just drop in at their leisure anytime between the program offering hours. The second part of that is a workshop series. So all of the activities offered through this project will be free of charge to the community as well. So the workshop series are intended to be a lunch and learn. So the information sessions have a variety of different topics that we're engaging local community organizations and service providers. We've got a wellness, mindfulness workshop that we're working with Indigo Lounge to present. Also, fraud prevention, I think that's key, and keeping folks safe in their home. So we've got a whole host that we're hoping to, we'll be putting information out in the community, both in print media and social media here coming soon. And the workshops will be limited to 25 participants, so they will be pre-registration required, but hopefully have a lot of great learning and build a lot of great connections in the community. And offer free programming. And really one of the goals here is to try to engage the community in programming that can be sustainable. Some lessons learned from this project will go forward and help inform decisions to provide rec programming in the future. So I just wanted to share that great news with the community. And these programs will be launched in September.
Thank you. Council? Councilor Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to hear of this grant funding and development for seniors programming. One question I did have was, what is the process for registering participants for the workshops, and how will we ensure that the registration process is accessible to all interested seniors?
Through your worship to Councillor Desrosiers, thank you for that question. We're just working through the logistics right now, but we should have that information out early next week. So we'll have an online platform as well as a telephone registry that'll be available.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. Just a quick comment. The fraud component of that, especially considering another incident this week of a senior citizen being defrauded of $65,000-ish. More awareness to the vulnerable population, I'm sure will go a long way.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, that's carried. Thank you. Next item is 7.2.5, Manager of Parks and Recreation Community Program Assistant Role Resolution.
That report Rec 21-24 respecting community program assistant role be received for information, and that council endorse the new part-time staff position with an anticipated start date of September 2024.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber, Councillor Chapman. All right, before I open the floor up, well, first of all, I need a report from Susie.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to council. The report before you tonight is building off the report presented June 5th. That was REC 0824 with regards to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan implementation. The gap in the recreation staffing component was discussed at that meeting and is referred to in this report. Staff and council are aware of the community's desire to see more recreation programming offered in the community. I think that's evidenced through our budget survey analysis as well as identified in the master plan. The position presented this evening will support new recreation programming as well as work with existing community groups and service providers to provide additional programming to the community. So recreation is one of those unique jobs where you try to work yourself out of it all the time. So you create something new, get the community involved, build capacity, whether that's help training volunteers, sharing skills, having staff there to help facilitate, make sure that they've got themselves organized, and then staff can sort of withdraw. Those groups are sustainable, and we can attach our resources to assist another group or implement a new initiative. So this position outlined in the report will provide direct recreation program instruction, so we'll be real boots on the ground, and manage programming at various locations provided throughout the town. So recreation isn't meant to be static. It's not meant to be just indoors. It's meant to be in the parks, in the pavilions, in different facilities, different town-owned facilities, the complex, working with local community partners right in their venues. So we're really taking recreation into the community and making it whole. Currently, there's not a comparable position within the town. So this position would further assist my role as the manager of Parks and Rec by implementing approved programs in the community and furthering partnerships within community groups. So working alongside my role, casting a wider net and being more available and more accessible to the community. So recreation truly, we're hearing folks want programming, and that's 7 days a week. That can be sort of noted through programming at the complex, where we're a 7-day-a-week operation, opening up 7 in the morning, programming till late into the evening, and it's evidence that folks are looking for those opportunities. Again, this position too will better position the town to apply for more robust community program funding if we have folks in our staff and complement to facilitate that. So thank you for your consideration.
Anticipate discussion that deals with staffing, and I just wanted to remind councillors about procedure dealing with staffing discussions. If you're going to be discussing current staff duties and their execution of these duties, it comes to naming a person or getting to name a person, or if the discussion talks about changing staff duties in a significant manner, like changing reporting structures or job descriptions in that kind of way, we really need to do that in closed session. So if that's where we're going, if that's where council wants to go, is to talk about staff duties and changing staff duties, then I would welcome a motion to go into closed session immediately and do that discussion and then come back to finish this resolution. Have I been clear in what I'm saying? So question on this, Councillor Rosier.
Yep, I would actually be happy to make that motion. I do have 2 questions that they're not necessary for closed session though, so would you prefer that I ask those now and then we go to close if we vote on it, or go to close and then come back and ask public questions?
Yeah, I think we should go to closed first, if you want to make the motion to go to closed session. I need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Rahi, all those in favor? That's carried. Now, I remind you that
I should probably read that.
You should probably read that?
Yeah.
Okay, read that.
So the motion would read that council move into a meeting close to the public to discuss aspects of Report Recreation 21-24 relating to current staff, their duties and performance, and the possibility of changing those duties. These subjects relating to Section 239, 2B and D of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matters pertain to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and D, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So I'll call the question again. All those in favor going to closed session, that is carried. I remind those people that are out there watching us that we'll be back in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, as soon as we can. Thank you very much. Back, everyone. We have a resolution to come out of closed.
Yes, that council rise from a meeting closed to the public at 8:45 PM and reports the following, that council discussed report Recreation 21-24, Community Programming Assistant, and the discussion related to current staff, their duties and performance, and the possibility of changing those duties.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, Councillor Rahi, Councillor Chapman. All those in favor? Is carried. So we're back to 7.2.5. That resolution is still on the table, so any further questions or comments from council? First, we'll deal with the Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. The people of the community have asked for an enhancement of recreational opportunities. Council periodically have mentioned the desire. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan clearly outline a desire for enhanced recreational opportunities. This is the start. It gives an opportunity for the town to help coordinate user groups or individuals into enhanced recreational programs. I fully support the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 questions. Without knowing the anticipated new programming, because it will be developed kind of as it goes, will an update come to council at some point, just giving us an update on the position and how it has added some beneficial assistance to the staff complement? And the other question I have is, if there's any type of involvement with the EECC facility, is there any obligation for us to involve the EECC board prior to hiring this individual?
Through your worship to Councillor Desrosiers, thank you for those questions. I think in the spirit of transparency and also wanting to celebrate this position, to answer your first question, we'd absolutely bring a report to council, hopefully to celebrate the successes, help promote upcoming programming that have been developed. Even within the report, it's written there could be some successes, might be some failures, but certainly can discuss the slate of programming that'll be open for the community or developed for the community. So certainly will. And if there needs to be changes or amendments within the report, it speaks to if there's other programming identified where perhaps additional staffing, students or volunteers or extra capacity needs to be added, that'll be brought back to council as well. And thank you for understanding that it will be a position that will be evolving. The second part of the question with regards to the EECC, currently as it stands now, this position, if this position were to be using space at the EEC, the town would be, a customer of the EECC, so would be booking space and paying for space through the operating budget as any other patron would be. If there were to be any further changes, that would need to be discussed with the board.
Anyone else? Councillor Van Raes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I want to mirror kind of what Deputy Mayor Barber was stating. This is something the community's been asking for. They want more programming, they want more options for youth, for seniors, for the entire community, and you can't do that without someone to run that program and create that programming, so I support this.
As I recall, the very first question at the mayor's town hall last year was, when are we getting a recreation director? And this is what the public kind of looks at this person as. Just a comment. Anyone else? Seeing none, we have a resolution on the table. All those in favor? As carried. Thank you. Item 7.3. This is an AMO resolution campaign. Just okay. Who asked to put this on the agenda? Oh, Councillor Desrosiers. Did you want to speak to it briefly?
Sure. This notice and request should come as no surprise. Ontario's healthcare system is in a severe crisis characterized by long wait lists for primary care, shortages of healthcare professionals, and emergency room closures. These challenges are impacting local economic development and the overall well-being of residents throughout the province. Additionally, the decline in comprehensive family medicine and low per capita healthcare spending intensify the issues. The Ontario Medical Association, OMA, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, are advocating for systematic improvements. Supporting this advocacy effort is a logical step in recognizing and addressing these pressing concerns. Effective resolution of these issues requires joint advocacy and the execution of a provincial health human resource strategy to enhance access to healthcare services across Ontario. Our support and collaboration are essential in driving these changes forward and ensuring a healthier future for the province and Elmer residents. Given the considerations, I respectfully request that Council endorse this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I better have Owen read the resolution.
Yes, the resolution is whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario is in crisis with 2.3 million Ontarians lacking access to a family doctor, emergency room closures across the province, and patients being defostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. And whereas it has become increasingly challenging to attract and retain an adequate healthcare workforce throughout the health sector across Ontario, and whereas the Northern Ontario School of Medicine University says communities in Northern Ontario are short more than 350 physicians, including more than 200 family doctors, and half of the physicians working in Northern Ontario expect to retire in the next 5 years. And whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77 in 2008 to 65% in 2022. And whereas per capita healthcare spending in Ontario is the lowest of all provinces in Canada, and whereas a robust workforce developed through a provincial and sector-wide healthcare human resources strategy would significantly improve access to health services across the province. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Elmer urge the province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in the Town of Elmer and Ontario, and to fund healthcare appropriately and ensure every Ontarian has access to physician care.
Okay, mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers and Councilor Oslach. Comments from Council? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. To Councilor DeRosier, clarification. There's a whole paragraph noted to Northern Ontario challenges as far as doctors go. Do we know whether those same stats apply to the rest of the province?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would assume the Ontario Medical Association would have the data to back that, but I mean, we could always ask them to verify that.
Anyone else? Okay. I certainly would support sending another resolution to the Government of Ontario. There have literally been thousands that have been sent to the government. It doesn't hurt to send another one, because the point of the resolution, I guess, is that there is a problem in healthcare, and there is, and the problem in healthcare does involve money. There's no other way of putting it. If you talk to doctors, and talk to many doctors, and the reasons why they're not here or not in Tillsonburg or not in London is primarily the fact that the funding scheme that the province of Ontario has at the present time is just unworkable. And doctors just, if you look at the what doctors get paid in terms of being part of a family health team, for example, they get $35 a visit, $35 a visit. And for, the people that are private get paid $35 a visit. People in a family health team have a salary like everybody else. But it does come down to money. So I support the concept that province get out and do something about this. Sorry, it was almost a rant. I'm sorry about that. Anyway. Anyone else? No. Thank you very much. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. New business or matters of urgency? Seeing none. Reading of bylaws and proceedings thereon. Owen.
That council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 56-24, being a bylaw to establish and adopt the terms of reference for the Old Town Hall Advisory Committee. Bylaw 57-24 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular council meeting held on July 10th, 2024. And bylaw 5824 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 57-99 being the zoning bylaw of the town of Elmer respecting zoning bylaw amendment 05-24, 78 Spruce Street West.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber, Councillor Chapman. Okay, any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, as carried. Thank you. Inquiries by members? Seeing none. Statements and committee reports? Councillor Van Raes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned earlier, we're sitting on the Community Impact Advisory Committee through the United Way. They were out here recently to do a presentation. We've had a few meetings with the entire, well, majority of the committee to discuss certain areas, which we've heard of some tonight, on where to focus. Some of it has been on food security, some of it has been on affordable housing, mental health, but a lot of the discussion, and I don't want to concretely say there's a certain direction that we're going until we have our next meeting and discuss it, but a lot of it has been on support for youth and more community support, more community resources being brought in. So that was a big topic of discussion at our last meeting, was youth support and kind of a resource hub for people that they could go to. So we're still having discussions, working behind the scenes, but that's just a brief update for council as to what we're doing. And Councillor Chapman has been involved in that as well. So she was at the last meeting. Yeah, it was some really good discussions and some good feedback.
Anyone else? Councillor Desrosiers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to speak to a serious matter that I believe requires public awareness. Recently, there have been multiple reports of an individual approaching youth in our community with unwelcoming remarks and gestures. While police are involved, it is crucial to raise awareness about these incidents and the associated dangers. With the school year approaching, I encourage parents to discuss with their children the risks posed by strangers and the importance of staying alert. And as a community, I urge everyone to support our youth by remaining observant and vigilant. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Anyone else? Report of the mayor, just a brief report. I know it's late, but bit of a look at the past. If you were driving on John Street North in 2010, you would probably notice there was this huge building there that is empty and used to employ thousands of people, really. And about that time in 2010, there was an individual who was not a citizen of Elmer, but he used to come here to bring his kids to play hockey at the complex. And he thought, well, gee, there's this huge building, has nothing in it, maybe we should do something here. So he took a risk as an entrepreneur, put up, with help of others, millions of dollars, really. That building now houses the Elgin Innovation Center, and it employs 700 people and has 35 businesses, and is 90% full. And it's mainly due to the efforts of one person, and you know who that is, Mr. Jack Baribeau. So I would like to, do they say shout out these days? I would like to thank Jack Baribeau for his efforts on behalf of the town of Elmer and filling that place with, 700 people who work there. So thank you, Jack. Any notices of motion? No. We have a closed meeting to go to. We have a resolution.
That council moves into a meeting close to the public at 9 PM to discuss the following matters: Director of Finance, Treasurer, Report Finance 17-24, 2025 Budget Reports, Benefits Updates for Consideration, and Chief Administrative Officer Report 40-24, Employee-Related Matter, and that consideration of these items is closed to the public pursuant to Section 239B and D of the Municipal Act as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local employees, and labor relations or employee negotiations.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Raes. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. We have a resolution coming up closed.
That council rise from a meeting closed at 9:26 PM and reports the following: that council received for information the Director of Financial Services / Treasurer report and provided direction regarding benefits updates, and that council gave direction to the Chief Administrative Officer respecting report CAO 40-24 regarding an employee-related matter.
Mover and seconder, Councilors Rosier, Councilor Rahi. All those in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn.
That council do now adjourn at 9:27 PM.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Van Raes and Deputy Mayor Barbara. As carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.